Bitcoin is just reflecting the fact that there's no actual real liquidity in the market right now. And when it comes in, it'll lift off. And once it gets attention, it can play the catch-up, close those alligator jaws versus global M2 versus global liquidity versus now. And only the financial system kind of revving its engines to get going, but they're waiting for the checkered flag to be raised so they can start the race. And so, but everyone's like, well, I thought Trump was going to pump my bags.
To understand where we are going, we have to look at the everything code. Raoul's thesis is built on a fundamental truth. 90% of Bitcoin's price action is explained by global liquidity. When global M2 dollars, the total money supply, expands, Bitcoin and the NASDAQ outperform everything else. Currently, we see a massive dislocation, what Raoul calls alligator jaws, between historic parallels and current prices. Historically, Bitcoin should be significantly higher based on current liquidity levels, but it hasn't caught up yet. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
I think we have one more cycle before that. And that's going to be the spectacular one. That's the blow-off top cycle. Because right now, people are still cynical. They don't quite believe it all. So, we saw like most of last year, most institutional asset allocators were underweight tech. Oh, it's a bubble cycle. I mean, there's no debt going into this thing, apart from a few companies. It's nothing. But people just don't want to believe that this secular change, this exponential change is happening. But if let's say we have a good year this year, then let's say 2027, liquidity gets withdrawn a bit because we don't need to service any debts really that year. So we have the typical kind of down year. And let's say NASDAQ goes down 25, 30%. Bitcoin goes down 50, 40, 50, something like that. And we start the money printing cycle again. And Trump is ramping up to try and win the general election. We now know the playbook. Everybody's going, and we'll have gone from where we are in AI today to where we are in AI by 2027, which none of us can even predict right now because it's vertical takeoff. Everyone's just going to throw all their money at this. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have the boom in solar and energy and nuclear and all of the other things around it. I mean, for me, it's got all the elements of a full bubble blow off. For me, somebody ended up buying a lot of stuff that got liquidated. But the market maker APIs were basically closed. So it was difficult for a period of time for them to actually add liquidity. So who bought it all? So in my mind, the issue was really seen on Binance and some of the Asian exchanges. And my guess is somewhere amongst whoever, if your exchanges stop functioning and your market makers can't make prices, at some point you have to do something. So I don't know the structure of Binance and nobody knows it. Do they have their own market makers within? Somebody probably got a lot of inventory, way too much inventory, because they had to. So if you've got a lot of inventory, it's like a program trading desk in equities that I used to work very closely with. They end up with a huge amount of inventory. They need to work it out over time. So what you don't want to do is just dump it immediately. So you just kind of do it every day and try and not impact the market. But that would make sense why all of these altcoins went back down to that level, because a lot of people got carried out. There's no liquidity coming in the system. The entities or entity that bought a lot of this stuff now have to work out of the position. It takes time. And I think that was the feature of the after October, we saw that relentlessly in November and December. I mean, it's almost every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like
now, we thought it was a market maker. People thought it was Wintermute or whatever. I don't know who. Probably everybody got a lot of inventory. So maybe it was 10 different players with a lot of inventory that needs to unwind it because all retail investors got liquidated who were in leverage. Yeah, and that's still because liquidity is not flowing. We have to go through the year end. All the banks have to do the window dressing. Now the SLR changes come in from January the 1st, but it's only January the 8th right now, time of recording. So nobody's doing anything yet. So these things take time to work out. So, Bitcoin is just reflecting the fact that there's no actual real liquidity in the market right now. And when it comes in, it'll lift off. And once it gets attention, it can play the catch-up, close those alligator jaws versus Global M2, versus Global Liquidity, versus NASDAQ, versus, historic parallels. I mean, it just dislocated from everything.
Amidst the L1 wars, Raoul remains steadfast on Ethereum. While he acknowledges that Solana and Sui are fantastic for speed and specific use cases, he views Ethereum as the Microsoft operating system of the financial world. Why? Because it has the deepest density of talent and has been battle-tested longer than any other smart contract platform. For institutions building the new financial system, ETH is the safe, scalable choice, especially with its Layer 2 solutions.
Most people don't actually listen to what I say. So they don't listen to a long-form podcast, and they don't go on Real Vision, and they don't read my stuff. So then they just selectively say something, and they get angry, and so then they do it. It's like, for fuck's sake, I put so much actual work out there that, and for free, and behind the paywall in Real Vision. I do, AMAs with Real Vision members. We do everything there to help people. But people don't want to be helped, and that's the issue. So they want to blame somebody when it goes wrong for themselves. It's like, and I've always said, in fact, it says at the top of my Twitter thing, is I'm not a guru. You have to, having been in financial markets for 35 years, things change. Forecasts don't always work. As you rightly asked the question, what happens if the RSM doesn't go up? Well, you're going to have to change your plan. Right? So if liquidity gets withdrawn from the system and the government shuts down for the longest period of time in history, you have to change your plan. Now, my plan is I don't trade around stuff, so I don't care. My time is the cycle or multiple cycles. So it doesn't matter to me unless I've got some cash and I can reinvest into the thing. But people's time horizons are all different. That's the other issue. It's because people want their money now. It's like money doesn't work that way. Only when you look back do you say, oh my God, I could have made that money in that period of time. Look at 2017. You made 10x in 6 months. Yeah, but at the time, was it obvious until it happened? No. So you just don't know, and nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal ball, but I know that the work on the everything code is as close to a crystal ball as I can get, but it doesn't make it tick for tick perfect, and it won't be, but it'll get it directionally right. Look, 90% of all Bitcoin's price action is explained by global liquidity. So for that to be true, that 2026 is a bear market year, it must be true that global liquidity is going to be falling. There is no evidence of that. If that were to be true, then we've got, we then kind of nuke the economy, because you would be reducing global liquidity when the ISM is at 47, which is manufacturing is basically at a recession.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way. It's not going to happen in a year of a midterms of a very aggressively pro-economic or pro-business leadership. It just doesn't make sense. So for that to be true, and we've got to roll all the debt, that means they're going to lose control of the bond market, blow up the banking system, blow up the stock market. It doesn't feel right. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel right. And with low inflation, relatively low inflation. Why would they do it? So that's what's incongruous for me. So you have to say, oh, that correlation that has been in place since Bitcoin's existence at 90% correlation and 97.5% with the NASDAQ is false. His game plan is he got voted in. He was funded and voted in by the crypto lobby and the tech lobby. So his job is to continue to give them what they want. So he's clearing the regulation, putting the path down, making it very clear that they're pro-crypto. But then the crypto people are like, well, why has my number not gone up? Okay, so let's think this thing through again. If liquidity is not flowing, where's that money going to come from? The institutions. But we haven't had the Clarity Act. So why would most of them do it? We get some. We saw ETF flows into Bitcoin and stuff like that. Great. But we haven't had the floodgates yet because it's not been cleared. So, and then we say, yeah, but the banks, they're all building on it. What have they actually launched? Nothing yet. They're just all starting to ramp up because the Stablecoin Act came through, so they can start with that. Then the Clarity Act needs to come through. So we've got no liquidity and only the financial system kind of revving its engines to get going, but they're waiting for the checkered flag to be raised so they can start the race. And so, but everyone's like, well, I thought Trump was going to pump my bags. He's doing everything. He's telling you that they're going to roll the debt, they're going to use the liquidity through the banking system, they're going to give you fiscal stimulus, they're going to force rates lower, they're going to change the Fed chairman, they're going to do everything they can to pump your bags whilst giving you a regulatory green light. So it's a patience problem again. It was never for me, it was for the market.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I'm like, it's always going to be the financial system that builds on ETH. Yes, they will use Solana. Yes, they'll use Swede. Yes. But ETH is the fucking Microsoft operating system in crypto that the financial system will use. There's the broadest density of talent. It has been battle tested longer than any other smart contract platform. And it's got the scalable layer 2s. It gives them the ability to spin up their own chains and do all the things that they want to experiment with. So, yeah, I mean, it was blindingly obvious that this was going to happen.
Raoul Pal's final message is one of psychological resilience. He often says, I am not a guru. Financial markets are complex, and forecasts are not tick for tick perfect. The everything code is directionally right, but it requires the one thing most investors lack. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.